What's going on behind the scenes and off the microphone at the Magic Word podcast? Hear what listeners and guests are saying that isn't on the podcast this week on The Magic Whisper.
Ho, ho, ho. This is Santa Claus. No, sorry. This is Scott Wells for The Magic Whisper. Well, it's that time of the week, and this time we're going to keep it short. Everybody is working, and that is good news. You know, I always close my Magic Word podcast by saying, stay well and get booked. And everybody has been getting booked, and that's a great thing. I'm so glad to see and hear so many people who are out working this holiday season, including me as Santa. Well, let's get right to the news. This week we had a report of the amazing Kreskin, who had passed. Also, Dick Van Dyke turned 99. A reminder that Nate Bargatze is going to be on television on December the 19th. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about Santa Claus and just a few other bits and bobs. And we'll have a clip from this week's Magic Word podcast featuring Charles Peachock. And I'd like to hear from you about what are the tricks of the year that you think are good investments. Well, we just recently had the passing of Kreskin, and I had some friends who had gone to New Jersey for his funeral. Mark and Sue Holstein were very good friends, and they went out to New Jersey and spoke at the funeral. Sue spoke also with some emotional and heartfelt reflections from her friendship and stories about growing up and knowing Kreskin and how much he had meant to her. And there was a small group of friends that then accompanied them to the Gates of Heaven Cemetery. And the parents are buried there along with Yogi Berra. And it's had a nice view of the skyline of New York City, which apparently Kreskin had loved. After the service, they had hosted a luncheon at a local restaurant. And it is something that is sad because he had meant so much to so many people throughout the years. And of course, was long known and well loved for his television show and being a host on Johnny Carson. I had heard once where he was the most popular person, and the person that Johnny would always call. If someone didn't show up, he would get hold of Kreskin and say, I'll be right over. And so he was kind of a last minute fill-in several times. I may be wrong, but I want to say it was like 77 or 88. It was a lot of times that Kreskin was on the Johnny Carson Tonight Show. Well, we bid him a fond farewell. I only regret that I wasn't able to get him on my podcast, but in later years, he was not someone who wanted to do one more interview or talk on someone else's podcast. So I just want to mention that he will be missed by a large community of us. So rest in peace and aloha, my friend. And speaking of people who are aging, since Kreskin had passed just about a month before his 90th birthday. Right now, we are also just recently celebrating the birthday of Dick Van Dyke. And he is mentioned because he is someone who loves magic. He has been involved with the Magic Castle, the Academy of Magical Arts, and has often been seen coming in and out. And he has, again, a big fan of magic. And the kinds of things that he has done over the years has been true magic, as he's done with Mary Poppins and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, so many other great movies. And so happy birthday and congratulations to him. He apparently lives in Malibu, where they had some fires, and he had some nearby neighbors who had helped to rescue him whenever the fires were reaching his home. The fires didn't reach his home. It didn't catch fire. So fortunately, he was all fine. Another thing is Nate Bargatze is going to be returning to television on CBS on a special Nashville Christmas. I think it's going to be an hour-and-a-half special, kind of in the style of the old ones they had with Perry Como and Bing Crosby and Andy Williams and that kind of a thing. So it's coming up again on CBS on December the 19th. Be sure to set your recorders. And I just gotten a text just moments before that I started shooting this this vlog from his father, Stephen Bargatze, with an article that was in the Tennessean newspaper. And apparently he was saying that, yes, 100% of the stories that Nate tells about the family are true. Whether it was that Stephen had gone to a funeral wearing his wife's pants, which was a funny story. Or growing up, of course, with Stephen as a clown, and whenever he was hollering at Nate as a kid and white face and with a clown face. Anyhow, all those stories, according to what Stephen has said, that he tells in Nate's show are absolutely true. So just kind of a tip to kind of know as you're listening to Nate, which, by the way, I understand he's also going to be releasing a Netflix special on Christmas Eve. So that's going to be coming up soon too. So if you stream on Netflix, be sure to catch his upcoming special from his Be Funny tour. Well, as I said, as I was starting to get into this, I'd been very busy myself, not doing magic, but actually doing a little bit of a kind of different magic, which I've been Santa Claus. And I've been sitting in the chair and having children come up and tell me what they want for Christmas. It's just been a joy, a real delight to see the smiles on all the children's faces. And I have had a delight in doing that. I know there are several other people who are doing it around the country and perhaps around the world. It seems like there's only a short amount of time in which that we can do it when we have a real white beard, and a white beard that is real. And so, and then you're healthy enough to be able to get around to go and doing all these different kinds of shows. But I've had about a dozen or more appearances as Santa Claus as the holidays have progressed, and with more to come. So it's just been a whole lot of fun. Which, by the way, I do want to mention, as I've been driving around, I have seen some people who are still wearing masks, even though we're post-COVID times. But it's interesting that sometimes people are wearing masks in their cars. So there's been a new thing that's been developed, and that is for people who wear masks in their cars. We now have seatbelts available for them so that you can wear seatbelts outside whenever you're walking around. So that way that you can keep safe that I just think that's hilarious. I was speaking with a friend of mine, Jamie Salinas, who also is not only a wonderful magician, but has Jamie's Choice, which is a online magic vendor. And he and I were talking about different tricks of the year that have been popular, that he's been selling in different categories, whether they're mentalism or close-up or stand-up or whatever. And one of the things he was talking about, one of the people who was a magician he was chatting with was saying, well, I got to go do another show. And he said, don't look at it that way. Look at it as I get to do another show. I get to help people. I get to share and enjoyment and some smiles and some good times. So it's a different perspective. If you just change one vowel, instead of saying I got this, instead of I have got to do something, in other words, say that I get to do something. It's a change of perspective completely. In other words, it's like, oh, it's going to be a job. I really don't want to do it, but I've got to do it. But if you look at it as I get to do it, and even if you don't have that kind of feeling when you walk into the door, be sure that you flip that switch so this way that you do turn that frown upside down. So this way that you're going to be able to say, I get to do something and I get to help someone and share some fun and excitement with them. Well, and I mentioned Jamie because I know that during this past year, there have been a lot of tricks, a lot of books that have come out, and I would like to hear from you, the viewer and listener, to tell me what tricks perhaps that you have purchased that you think are tricks of the year, or things that you have put into your repertoire, things that you think are fantastic. Just write me, Scott at themagicwordpodcast.com. Let me know what it is that you like and why it is you like it. And I'll be glad to attribute that to you and mention you in an upcoming episode then of The Magic Word, or of Magic Whisper. Speaking of the magic word, kind of slipped out there a little bit this week. We talked with Charles Peachock, who is the inventor of Audio Ape. And we'll talk about that in just a few moments after this clip. But he also is a tremendous juggler. He's an in-demand performer of the Disney cruise lines. He was one of the first jugglers who had gone far with America's Got Talent. And he also was the one who originated with this light type of show with Illuminati type of things that you've seen some other people do afterwards. But he kind of started all that. Here's just a short clip of the episode, from the episode that you'll be hearing this coming Thursday from Charles Peachock.
first started, actually, it's so funny that I started off as a magician. My interest was magician. First time on stage was magic. I had a mirror box and a dove pan, and I did a talent show in 7th grade. And then I liked it, and I liked the attention that magic gave you. I was the youngest child, and I was shy, so that it was a good outlet. Just so many people have that story in magic. And then I like card work and things like that, but I never really did much with it. And then, I started up juggling, and I just took to it like a fish to water. And I just loved the fact that I could just disappear into a gym and just work for 2 hours and, watch this thing slowly grow. And I think I like the physical side of it too, like the actual physical work that went into it. And, I just love not to have to, go out and buy a trick or have to do this or learn that. It was just like you could just go and woodshed and get better. And that was my I love doing that.
Well, as I said, Charles actually is the person who had invented the audio ape. And it's important, I think, that you had music to your show. If you don't have music in your show, you should. I mean, it doesn't increase it by just 10%. It about doubles the impact on that. When you're going to be bringing audience volunteers up on stage, or whether you're doing not necessarily a stage show, but if you're doing a stand-up show, it's very important. That way you can also have, with AI, it's so much easier, of course, that you can generate some voice narration that will introduce your act and say a little bit about you before that you come on. And you can have some music that you can personally curate that is also AI. But the point is of having some background music. I mean, David Copperfield keeps an underbed of music all the time playing during his show. And, take a tip from the pros who are very successful. I mean, it's hard to go wrong. He's a billionaire and he's making these kinds of suggestions. I say Copperfield being a billionaire. So I would just say that if you don't use music, consider using music in your act. And Audio Ape is a control method that you can use, but there are so many methods that are out there, whether they're free to very expensive. Just consider that. It's a little bit more work for you, but it is a lot more enjoyment for the audience, and you will be perceived a lot higher then as well, and you can charge more. Well, next week, we're going to be having some more information. Just hopefully that if you'll send it to us. In the meantime, if you will like and share this video, and then also if you will join and subscribe to our pod letter for the Magic Word Podcast, that way that you can keep up to date on who's coming up from week to week and what we're doing. So it's free and easy. Just go to the magicwordpodcast.com and you can see a little pop-up that'll say join our pod letter. Subscribe there, please do. And also be sure to use Amazon affiliate, which if you go to any of the pages for the Magic Word Podcast, scroll to the bottom, there'll be a little logo down there, say we're an Amazon affiliate. When you click on that, it goes to your account, and you can, whatever you buy, we get a few cents back. And that is a way of helping to keep the Magic Word Podcast going. Well, again, just drop me a note. Let me know what tricks did you purchase this year that you think are tricks of the year. I'd like to hear from you. So this way that we can kind of keep it among ourselves here for next week's Magic Whisper.
Share the whisper with other magicians and join us next time on The Magic Whisper. The Magic Whisper is a division of the magicwordpodcast.com.